Welcome back, Facebook. Apologies for that. We had a little technical hiccup, but we are back. I think the powers that be heard what Douglas was saying, and they had to cut it, but we're going to go back right into it. So what we were talking about, just to go back, is we were talking about how there might not be jobs in the future.
Yeah.
And you almost think that's a good thing.
Right.
That at least the idea of jobs and working for something is a goal that we should work towards.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing I was trying to point out was that jobs are not a feature of nature. The jobs were invented in the late Middle Ages and the early Renaissance, and they weren't really even invented to give people income. They were invented to prevent people from having their own little businesses. So you work for the man, and you work in time rather than making something. Right? The beauty of a digital age is that nobody wants a job. You know, I mean, really, deep down, do you really want a job? No. I mean, what you want stuff. You want money, you may want some sense of connection to get to work with other people to make a meaningful difference in your world, but do you want a job? Not really. I mean, some people, oh, it feels good to go to work and have my cubicle and all, okay, good. You get to have one, but the real reason we have jobs now is not because we need stuff done. It's not because we need more matzah, we need more, eggs, we need more, we got to get more, we need more labor done. No. Right now, we have more stuff than we know what to do with. We are tearing down houses in California right now. Bank of America tears down houses every week because they're in foreclosure. Right? You can't just let someone live in that house because they doesn't have a job. Right? And if we let the house just be there, then the price of houses is going to go down. The Food and FDA, or not the FDA, the Agriculture Department, we burn food every week. Because if we let it just go on the market, then the prices are going to go down. You can't just let people eat the food because they don't have jobs. So what is a job? A job is not something we need in order to build more plastic stuff for people to then throw out or stick in their storage units. No, a job is a justification to distribute the spoils of industrialism to people. And that's, if we're allowed to say it, is ass backwards.
Go for it.
So if technology begins replacing people's jobs, right, do we want to go, oh no, this is so sad because now we won't have a way to justify letting me have stuff? Or do we celebrate that, oh look, there's robots tilling the fields, this is actually good? You know, as long as we look at human beings through the industrial age lens of utility value, like you are your utility value and I am my utility value, then the robots will come and replace us, and Ray Kurzweil's right, we may as well upload consciousness to a chip and let the computers run the show, right? The singularity will come, computers are better than us. If, on the other hand, we can broaden our understanding of human beings to something other than utility value, we are more than what we can offer the market. We are more than the labor we can accomplish. We might have, and I don't want to get weird on you, but we might have some kind of sacred spiritual value or consciousness or artistic value or emotional value. If we can look at ourselves that way, then we can start to see the economy as something that serves us rather than we as something that serves the economy.
Facebook, I see you got some stuff. What you got for us, Pete?
How do you think that we can put pressure on companies that we feel are being bad actors?
Well, I mean, obviously the easiest way to put pressure on a company that's a bad actor is to just stop buying their stuff, right? I mean,
should we throw rocks at their buses?
No, I mean, throwing rocks, it was funny. When people were throwing rocks at the Google bus, I got a lot of tweets, people saying, hey, don't you want a thumbs up on this and favorite this? Look, they're bringing Google down. And it was right after Google had had its whole NSA problem, so people were angry at Google. But what I was thinking was, no, I have friends on that bus. Howard Rheingold, his daughter was on those buses when they were doing stuff to them. And she's great. She's this great person. The people on those buses are just developers who want to last 3 or 4 years at Google or Facebook or wherever before they burn out. The average lifespan of a Google employee is not that long because they work them into the ground. So it's not their fault. It's not even their boss's fault who are, making them work so hard. Or even talk to the CEO of Google, and they're just meeting growth targets of their investors and shareholders. And who are their shareholders? Well, you and me, buddy, in our S&P 500 index fund in our dwindling retirement account, and we're angry because the stock's not growing fast enough for me to be able to retire. So it's not some human being, really, that we should be yelling at. It's an operating system that we've forgotten even exists. It's like if you woke up in a world that had only Macintosh computers, you wouldn't know there's such a thing as an operating system. You would just look at it and go, oh, that's computer. And that's the problem right now is young developers in particular, they don't know there's an operating system other than my angel investors, my Series A, my Series B, my IPO, or my acquisition, and then I go. You talk to the chairman of the Federal Reserve, you talk to the CEOs of any of these companies, they don't know that there's an operating system under their companies, and that the operating system was written by people. It was written by monarchs in the 11th and 12th century for reasons that everybody's forgotten, and in the interests of people who've long since left the building. So if we're going to enslave ourselves to an operating system and then amp it up with digital technology, well, duh, we're going to get undesired results.
Facebook, you got some more questions. What you got?
Okay, what are some examples of companies you think are doing the right way, who are the good actors out there?
Gosh, there's a bunch. Winco is a company. They're a competitor of Walmart out west. And it's the same model as Walmart, which isn't great in some ways, right? Because they're just polluting and taking Chinese goods and whatever. But it's more a grocery store part of Walmart. But it's an employee-owned co-op, entirely employee-owned. And they're beating Walmart in every area where they're going on head-to-head competition. Because their prices are just as low or lower, but their employee retention is better, so the expertise is higher, the stores run better. And the employees make more money, and their owners. So you talk to the Walmart people and the Walmart shareholders, and they're like, wait a minute, how could Winco charge the same prices or better prices than us when they're paying their workers more? And the duh to it is because they're not paying the shareholders. They're not taking 90% of their revenue and throwing it up into share price for people who don't even have anything to do with the company. So they're a great one. Public supermarkets down south is worker-owned. Right here in New York, there's a company that's opening right about now called Juno, which is a competitor of Uber. It's the same thing as Uber, except the drivers own half the platform. So the drivers own the company. This way, if these little ride-sharing companies are really just placeholders for companies that will eventually be having robotic cars, in Uber's case, you're doing the R&D for a company in which you do not participate. At least in Juno's case, and in any case where you're owning the company, you're doing the research and development for a company that even though you will not have a job at, you will be an owner of. So the value you're creating is something that's going to come back to you. REI I liked, but now they say something, they're doing something that's getting people upset. But REI is a cooperative type company. I mean, there's lots and lots, big and small. Really, every company I like the most are small family businesses that have no obligation to grow. That's really the key.
Facebook, what you got?
Okay, and one last one. Someone wants to know what you think about unemployment checks.
Well, unemployment checks are really the precursor to guaranteed minimum income. And that's something that seems inevitable if we're going to live in a just and free and appropriate society. What do you do if you live in a world where we have enough stuff? Do you make people dance to get some of it, or do you let people have it? The problem is people believe falsely that if you let people have guaranteed minimum income, if you just let them have a place to live, let them have food, and let them have health care because we have it in abundance, that they'll get lazy. But in every experiment that's been done so far, when people have guaranteed minimum income, when people go down to a 3-day or a 4-day work week instead of a 5-day one, they become more entrepreneurial. They take greater risks. They invent more things. They work harder. They become more educated. They participate in local activities. They educate their kids. They do health care for neighbors. People rise to the occasion. They don't become lazy sloths. And if we are in a position to actually live to live the life we've worked so hard for the last 500 years, it would make me unhappy for us to let an economic model that's really an obsolete operating system, to let a 12th or 13th century economic operating system prevent us from living in a genuinely digital age.
And then I'll just throw out one final question. Now, in the book, you mentioned that an early book on cyber culture or that you were writing about, the publisher actually thought that this whole internet thing was going to be a phase. Can you maybe expound on that a bit more? What was that conversation like? That what did they say?
Yeah. Well, I wrote a book. It was in 1991. 1991. It was called Cyberia, Cyberia, and it was written in San Francisco, which was originally the heart of digital culture. There were, you know, raves and fractals and projections, and I mean, it was a crazy time when kids who worked at Intel during the day would come home at night and scrape the peyote buds off cactuses and trip at night and talk about their alien experience. This was a wild time. So I wrote basically that something's coming. This weird, nonlinear, hypertext, internet-driven, electronic digital culture, and it's going to change things. And, you know, I finished it around 1992, and the publisher was Bantam Doubleday Dell. They looked at it and they said, look, you know, the internet, it's kind of like CB radio. It really hits big, and you remember Breaker Breaker? It was a CB, it's a kind of citizens band radio. It was a fad for a year or two, and there were a couple of movies, and then it died. And they thought, well, look, by the time this book comes out in 1992 or 3, this internet thing might just be over. So they canceled it, and I brought it to Harper San Francisco, of all places, because at least they understood, they were in it, that something might actually happen. So, no, thing after thing, whether it was that, or me talking about viral media, and people saying, what the heck is that? Or social media, which I was talking about 1995, 96. I said, no, the internet, it's not about e-commerce, it's not about data, it's a social medium. Finally, 2006, it becomes, you know, a thing. So that's the problem with being early, which is why this book, thank God, this book is actually in the moment. It's happening right now. So it's the first one I've written that's in the present tense. So we'll see what happens with it.
Great. Well, Douglas, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Anything you just want to plug real quick?
Plug PC Magazine. You know, magazines are so cool. Buy a physical magazine. You take it in the bathroom.
You can't actually buy a physical PC magazine, but
you can't?
You don't
have the magazine?
We have a great tablet digital edition.
Make a magazine.
Print tablet.
Print the magazine.
We have a great website, which is PCMag.com.
Kill trees. Print. Hold it in your hand and love it.
Yes. PCMag.com is great as well. Thank you, Facebook. This has been wonderful. We will see you next time.